Hi everybody, East Coast Pete here, ready for another show. Today I'm looking at Beaver Brown. They're an American rock band from Rhode Island from the 70s and the 80s. John Cafferty on guitar and vocals, Gary Grambolini on lead guitar, Pat Lupo on bass, Kenny Joe Silva on drums, and Bob Katoya on keyboards, and Mike Antrunes on sax. And they began as a bar band in Narragansett, Rhode Island. A very lovely town. They became known from playing up and down the Northeast Corridor in beach resort towns in Misquamicut, Rhode Island, and Jones Beach, Long Island, Connecticut, Cape Cod, and of course Asbury Park, New Jersey. Stone Pony, Bruce Springsteen, Bon Jovi, you know. Wild Summer Nights and Tender Years were the first hits. The label said no. One E Street band was enough, they said. Producer Ken Vance offered them a soundtrack to a screenplay he had based on a novel about a legendary bar band called Eddie and the Cruisers. The album reached the top 10 in the U.S. due to the popularity of the film. On the Dark Side went to number 7, and the follow-up was Tough All Over in '85, and it made the top 50. The Voice of America's Sons was used on the movie Cobra with Cy Stallone, and Hearts on Fire was in Rocky IV. The next album, Roadhouse, told well to the fans, but not as well as Tough All Over. In 1989, there was a sequel to Eddie and the Cruisers, Eddie and the Cruisers 2, Eddie Lives. Beaver Brown did the score actually, and it became their swan song. John Cafferty and Beaver Brown still tour, and their music was on There's Something About Mary and Dumb and Dumber. And Bruce Springsteen still tours as well. This is not Bruce Springsteen. John Cafferty is a star in his own right. And those of you out there who've seen Eddie and the Cruisers know what I'm talking about. And if you haven't seen those movies, you need to treat yourself, because that was what New Jersey bar bands were like back then. And there might be something like that now, I don't know, I don't live there anymore. The movie was a rock drama about a band called Eddie and the Cruisers and the turmoil that they went through when they were first getting noticed. This is a band that gave everything to their art. It's a no-nonsense, no bullshit approach. And fame just kind of got away from him, and Eddie decided to disappear for a number of years. He faked his death in a car crash. Eddie came back about 20 years later, and that's where the plot to Eddie and the Cruisers 2 takes up, because Eddie joins a metal band and kind of teaches them about the value of rhythm and blues, and lo and behold, the metal band had great success, and I find that to be an interesting way of going about things, taking a metal band and turning them to an R&B band. Then they make success for themselves. But you know what? There's plenty of metal bands that don't do R&B, and they're also successful. So I know the premise of the band was that Eddie and the Cruisers was top notch, and they were. But that doesn't mean that they have this all clear on what bands are supposed to sound like. So that premise doesn't really hold true. Still, it's an interesting take on music, and I think you'd all benefit from having a look at both those movies, one right after the other. It's a real good binge watch, and the music is incredible. Way better than what I'm able to present here on my show without a name. I mean, that doesn't sound good at all, does it? Well, anyhow, thank you for being with me on my show with no name, and I will be back with another band just in a few minutes here. See if I can figure out who's next.